Okay, so Ajahn Pasanno has invited me to give a talk and to sort of a coming out of retreat talk, meeting human beings again and beginning to interact. I had a bit of a session last night, tea time with the community. That was very pleasant. So really the first thing is to, and one, of course, the reason I'm here was to spend time in retreat and solitude, and of course that was the space was provided for me, and I've really expressed my appreciation to Ajahn Pasanno, Sister Mon, the resident community and the extended community who made it possible for me to have this time in retreat, because it's as a senior monk and as a teacher, sometimes you get busy. Things happen, you have duties, and people expect you to do things and be places and whatnot. And so this whole past year, then I've had time on my own. The first half of the year was in Thailand, and I was in a small retreat cabin in a somewhat remote area, and very quiet, very pleasant. But my connection with Thailand is very deep, and long. So there was always people showing up, and for Westerners, if you say, okay, the Ajahns in retreat, and people, okay, I won't bother them. But in Thailand, say, okay, the senior monk is going to be in retreat. Oh, wow, it's sadhu. Oh God, go and make offerings. Wow, that's great. I'll go. So it's the longest I went without anybody showing up to make offerings for the meal was 2 days. But the where I was staying was it was a private piece. It wasn't a monastery. It was a private piece of property, private piece of land. There was a kind of a bit of a mountain range and caves there, and so it's and the owner of the property was she had no hesitation in shooing people away after the meal. So it was she was great. But it's a different feeling coming here and being in retreat and just coming to receive the meal offering and going back. That extended time of quiet and solitude is really quite precious, and has a real benefit for us as everybody that is interested in practice. So often we are, especially as Westerners, I think, I get very worried about technique and method. What method do you do? Often, we'll wait and see. But oftentimes, what did you do in retreat? I didn't do anything. I breathed in, breathed out, and 6 months went by. That sense of having some kind of structure or some kind of method or some kind of technique or something that you're actually doing, and and especially as one has been practicing for a while, those kind of structures fall away, and you realize that the Dhamma that the Buddha was pointing to is there for us all the time to just to realize, and that's one of the words that are used in terms of, like when the Buddha's very first teaching, giving the Four Noble Truths, and the relationship that we have or should have to the Four Noble Truths is the noble truth of dukkha, of suffering, unsatisfactoriness, is to be known or understood. The cause of suffering, various forms of desire and attachment, that the duty is to be let go of, relinquished, abandoned, and the cessation of suffering is to be realized. And so and of course the path leading to the cessation of suffering is to be cultivated or developed. And so that those are as our life aligns itself more and more with the principles of the Dhamma, with the sense of recognition of our, what we're training or learning or cultivating is our whole body-mind complex. That the Eightfold Path is, sila, samadhi, panya, the cultivation of virtue, of conduct, external conduct, the emotional training of samadhi in terms of learning how to have a stability of heart and clarity of heart, and then the wisdom factors of view and understanding. And they all work together, they all function together. And as we steep ourselves in that, then the realization starts to clarify itself. It's not that you make it happen so much. I mean, you set the conditions. You give yourself to those conditions, but it's not so much about technique or what particular method one's doing, or even how many hours you're doing it, and especially if one's in retreat, and it's that sense of not forgetting, which is one of the great teachers in Thailand was asked, what is mindfulness? And which is interesting, especially now. I mean, this monk has since passed, Ajahn Buddhadasa, so he's passed away quite a while ago, and before the mindfulness movement started to appear. So that his definition of mindfulness was something like, in Thai it's panyatan, which is really, really nice. It's hard to translate, but like timely wisdom, where one's wisdom or discernment is on time. And it's because oftentimes it's not that we don't know what's good or what's right or what's even wise. We're just not there at the right time. So it was so, I said, it's sort of like, oh crap, why did I say that? I said, oh no, it was just missing that timely wisdom sort of comes after. So that sense of mindfulness and clarity that's sort of on time, it's present. And this is something that, in terms of like the Ajahn Chah, if people ask, well, what meditation did Ajahn Chah teach? So there wasn't, there wasn't any sort of Ajahn Chah technique. There wasn't the Ajahn Chah method of meditation, but there's, basically whatever works, so that you're present and you're mindful and you're reflective, and you have a fundamental restraint of speech and action, and you're take an interest in what helps the heart to become more clear and free from obstacles, because it's those obstacles that those are the things that kind of fascinate us. It's like either the desires or the things that attract, or the things that we get upset about or irritated by or get very righteous about. Those are, it's easy to invest interest in that, but in terms of, because it pulls, but to be able to step back and really recognize how this fundamental ability of the human heart to know things in their true nature, know things clearly, that's an important aspect of learning to get in touch with that. And of course, that's what periods of retreat are helpful for. Again, one hears that or says, oh yeah, right. And then, what else grabs our attention and takes us away. So that constant returning and recollecting and reflecting and familiarizing oneself with the benefits and the delight of being present and being. And in the Thai language, when they define the word Buddha, then it's defined as the one who knows. And it isn't a knowing something. It's the ability to know, that fundamental knowing that we all have as human beings, and that so often gets hijacked. But it's just being able to keep plugging back into that, and that. It's like during this time that I was on retreat, I was reading the biography of a Tibetan master, 19th century Tibetan, Patro Rinpoche, and he's kind of like the Ajahn Mun of Thailand. He was spawned a huge number of disciples in all different traditions, and one of his teachings was very reminiscent of and kind of a riff almost on the one of the suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya that everybody knows: not going to the past, not going to the future. And he was sort of like, don't ruminate about the past, don't anticipate the future, don't cogitate about the present, not tampering with it. Leave mind just as is, this very instant, aware present. Besides this, there's not a damn thing. That's really beautiful, and he's considered one of the great meditation masters in history of Tibet. And similar to these, Ajahn Man, of course, there's really only one thing he ever wrote, and that was a poem. And it's very beautiful. You track it down, but there's places where it's just it's that simple. And of course, for us as human beings, simple is really difficult, isn't it? That compelling quality of complication, and it's actually one of the. There's a sutta where Anuruddha, one of the great disciples of the Buddha, is he's in retreat, and he's meditating and reflecting. He has this insight of the what's coming up in his mind and what's actually important. As a kind of the mental processes or thoughts of a great being, somebody who's an accomplished being, and then I can't even remember what they are. He goes through of course, virtue and restraint and contentment and patience and concentration and wisdom and all these things, all these good things, 7 of them. And then he comes out of his period of on his own, and he has the opportunity to pay respects to the Buddha, and he relates to the Buddha of what he's been contemplating, reflecting, what's come up in his mind, and what do they. And the Buddha says, yes, those are all great. Thoughts of a great being, accomplished being. He said, but add one more to that list. And he said, delight in non-complication. and that's it. That's a good one. That delighting in non-complication, that non-complication, non-proliferation. It's just it's so compelling again, sort of in the Thai language, the word for like complication, proliferation is it's like the idiom that they use for that is like adding the sauce to it's like adding the sauce, adding the flavoring. Because we're it's not quite this. But let's put some more of that in, and then it spins out. So that's the nature of the human mind. So that does, and again, that's sort of coming back of being in retreat and having time for retreat, and my own reflection and just having that time to let things settle, let things fall away, let things move quite naturally and gradually to non-complication, and that so that having this time, it's really really precious, and I think that's as a opportunity for all of us, and whether it's 6-month retreat, 1 year retreat, or just whatever increments of time that we have, even on a daily basis. How do we lift that up into the mind and for the heart to really resonate with those qualities of knowing and clarity and non-complication? And again, it's an act of remembering, which is like mindfulness. The word mindfulness in the scriptural language is sati, and its root in the scriptural language, its root is in memory, like sati, and then sanya it's the same root, so perception and memory have the same root. So that mindfulness has that sense. So much of it is just remembering to be present, not forgetting. And of course, that's where, I think in terms of whether it's retreat or whether it's in our daily life, this, what are the things that are most supportive and integral to that? And I think that again, this is questioning our tendency to go to structure. If I just had the right structure, had the right place, had the right structure, had the right schedule for myself, then I'd really get the Dhamma. Or I had the right method, I had the right technique, I did it right. And so I got the approved method. then it would be, I get. But that's really not it. It's it's more like a heartfelt reliance and abiding in the refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's sort of like Buddhism 101. Hello. Those aspects of what we call refuges, and which is so easy to forget, and it's a relationship both of faith and wisdom that we enter into those aspects of refuge and having, where the heart inclines to those aspects of, well, what does it mean to have the Buddha as refuge, or Dhamma as refuge, or Sangha as refuge? And of course, those are it's got many layers to it and nuances, and it's important to take the time to reflect on it and steep oneself in it, and to drawing close to what is a true refuge. And of course, that's something that we do on a daily basis, or on a moment-to-moment basis, or on a one-year retreat basis. And those are just those aspects of refuge, and realizing how integral that is to our transformation. And because it's easy to overlook that, because it's not, again, it's not quite as kind of snazzy as memorizing suttas or knowing the Pali language or whatever. All these different things that we can measure, or whatever meditation attainment we think we should be getting. Because so much of it is about letting go, of relinquishment, not of accumulating. And of course, that's where one relinquishes or lets go into that quality of refuge. But then it's something that, like, I was just thinking of Ajahn Mun's teacher, Ajahn Sao, was, and of course it's interesting because he was Ajahn Mun's first teacher, but then Ajahn Mun took what he received from his being instructed and threw himself into the practice, and by all accounts or understanding, he was fully awakened. And then he went back and taught his teacher, and then his teacher was liberated after that. So very beautiful. But anyway, as Ajahn Sao was this is in about 1940, 1941. He was about 80 then, and he became ill, and then he was in Ubon. He did a lot of wandering, but he was in Ubon. Ubon was in a bit of a turmoil at that time because I don't understand the historical aspect of it. Anyway, the French were bombing Ubon, and I've never researched what was in these complicated geopolitical things that happen. And but anyway, he started to become ill. He had a kind of an incident where it really weakened his health. He got stung by some hornets, which, especially in Thailand, they're quite poisonous. And then his health was compromised. And then he wanted to go to Laos, into Laos, and they started wandering and walking into Laos, because that's all there was in those days. And but then he started to get more and more weak and ill, but he wanted to get to a particular monastery in Champasak. It's a small city in southern Laos, and so the monks and there was probably some lay people along, and they managed to get a boat somehow, and then they're going down the Mekong, and it was about 2 days, and it looked like he was sleeping, resting, non-responsive during that time. And so quite ill, and then on the second day it pulled up to the monastery is right on the banks of the Mekong River. So he pulled up. It's a very old, ancient monastery. I've been there. It's very beautiful. And so they pull up, and as soon as they got there, then Ajahn Sao, he said, "Are we there?" And the monk said, "Yeah, we're there." So then he said, "Okay." And so he got up and got out of the boat, and then they went up the bank, and then he put his robe on. They got to the actual temple building, the main temple building, and he said, "Oh, you've got my sangati," and it's like that's the double robe that you'll see us wear sometimes. It's like on formal occasions we'll do that. So the monks run and get a sangati, and then they. So he puts he's got his robe on, he gets his sangati, and it's sort of all very proper, goes into the temple building, and there's an ancient Buddha image there, and he goes up, and then he bows once, twice, bows the third time, and then he didn't come up. And the monks were, or maybe he's just doing some recitation or something, and he didn't come up. So when then one of the monks came up and held his finger close to his, he stopped breathing. He passed away. That was, and it was just this. What a beautiful way what a way to go. And you think of somebody who's fully awakened, and they're they're old and they're weak and they're sick, and then just that sense of I really would love to bow to that image one more time. It's just so that the sense of and it's not as if it's it's like. Again, it's like the heart gives itself to Buddha Dhamma Sangha, gives itself what is to a real refuge, like a refuge of liberation and freedom, and a complete kind of relinquishing and giving up of that which is obstructive, and that which is just not necessary. And so much of what we do, or think, or feel, or proliferate about, it's just not necessary. And but it's really helpful to have a mirror that reminds one. Again, it's that sense of that timely wisdom that remember. Oh yeah, that's really not necessary. I can let go of that. And there's throughout the scriptures, there's a kind of a stock phrase that describes or speaks about the goal or the fruits of the practice, or as well as aspects of dispassion. It's a similar description. Sort of, I don't know. Etang santang, etang panitang, sabba sankhara samata, sambupadi patinisago, tanhakayo virogo nibbānanti. And it's sort of, this is peaceful, this is sublime. The sort of the ending of all formations, the relinquishing of all substrate of being, the destruction of craving, dispassion, nibbana, and it's just this. Again, this is peaceful. This is sublime. And then when it gets translated into English, sometimes you can still have a kind of hard edge to it, because it's what our language does. That's that ending of all formations. Like, I got to do it, but then the sabba sankhara samatha. Samatha is peaceful, tranquil. What is tranquil? What is settling? The settling of all formations. So it's just allowing those that fabricate that tendency of the mind to fabricate, to create, to concretize, and to let that settle, to let it become peaceful, and to let it be tranquil, rather than stir it up and keep it stirred up. And you realize that there's a softer edge to that, or even the Sambhupadi Patinisika. Body is like the basis of being, and what we identify with. Body, what we identify to, when we create a sense of me, what do we rely on? We rely on our body, our feelings, memories and perceptions, thoughts and emotions, consciousness, 5 aggregates. And that sense of, that relinquishing or letting go of those aspects. And one of the things that, again, there's like Ajahn Buddhadasa, this highly respected monk in Thailand, that, again, it's not letting go isn't sort of, on a certain level, it is obviously something we do, but then, the more we get involved, the more we cling. But that sense of how Ajahn Buddhadasa said, you have to realize that, we're thieves. We go and take things that don't belong to us. And what doesn't belong to us? Body, feeling, memories and perceptions, thoughts and emotions, consciousness. They don't belong to us. These are aspects of nature. And, it's us that goes in there and tries to possess them and hold on to them. And so it's like that when you just, that doesn't belong to me. I can't keep that. I can't hold on to it. I can't fix it in some sort of way. And that's that releasing is the sense of patinisiko. It's sort of like releasing a burden that we've we've shackled ourselves with. So then the sense of freedom that comes from putting down a burden of stuff that we've stolen. And even as I say, because oftentimes it translates the tanhaka, or the destruction of all craving. But the khaya is the word. Tanhaka, tanha, of course, desire. But then that destruction is also more like it has many shades of meaning. So like a wearing away, diminution, again a sense of settling. So it isn't that we have to, go and destroy it. So they're just letting it go to its own cessation, letting it, not resurrecting it, not keeping it going, and that sense of settling, letting it settle, letting it lose its impetus. And even the sense of dispassion has a equally I would say valid translation as fading away. And so it's because sometimes in a sense, dispassionate, I've got to be dispassionate. But it's got just fading away has a different kind of quality to it. It's sort of like saying, do I really want to get caught up in this? I can let it fade away. Do I really need to be carrying this mood around with me? Or this opinion? I just let it fade away. There's this sense of... So then you even say like Nibbana is, I've seen it translated as extinction. And it's not quite. That can be a translation, but so often like one of the colloquial uses of the word Nibbana in the time of the Buddha was cooling. And so like when you've taken a pot of food off the kitchen stove and you set it off to the side while it's really hot, you set it off to the side to Nibbana, to cool down. It's just letting things cool. And of course in a tropical climate, cooling is really that's really desirable. Here, maybe not so much. Although that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Birken, starting mid-December, so I could experience Canadian winter. And that was great. Because it's almost 50 years since I've been in Canada in the wintertime. I don't know, time passes. So I really enjoyed the winter. I went out for a walk every single day. Just really enjoyed the winter. There's something, again, there's a settling and stilling that happens in the winter that is, as a natural part of the cycle of nature that is very peaceful, being in a winter environment there. I was actually hoping for it to be colder with more snow, and I didn't even get to wear my long johns. As people who were worried about me with this really spiffy merino wool long johns. I passed them on to Ajahn Pasanno. Next winter might be colder. But yeah, there's these aspects of cycles of nature, and our mind, our heart, our being are not separate from nature, and to be able to reflect on that and see that, and to recognize this quality of knowing is our doorway into experiencing freedom from suffering, and just learning how to nurture that, learning how to be present for that, learning how to, and of course that's what the refuges of the Buddha embody, that not as a idealistic thing or as a doctrinal thing, but as a heart connection, and that's you realize that this is what transforms the human heart, is this taking the Buddha Dhamma Sangha as refuge. To offer that for reflection today.